As I proceed in this video, please keep in mind that apologetics is not a search for truth or understanding. It's a defense of dogma, by whatever means. Apologetics is the work of convincing people to change their views. In this, it is similar to preaching because its goal is ultimately the defense and presentation of the validity and necessity of the gospel. Its task is not to make an objective study of the truth and then set it before the masses with academic fairness. Its task is to serve our own right, always and unflinchingly. Okay, to be fair, Hitler was talking about propaganda and not specifically about apologetics. But I contend that apologetics is ineffective without employing propaganda techniques in every single utterance. One of the most crucial components of effective apologetics is controlling the language. Apologists inject reductive, dismissive terms like just, only, merely, or simply, even when discussing the most complex topics of life, the universe, and everything. Apologists will deliberately misuse words which have several distinct definitions, such as theory, colloquially understood as a guess or hunch, but which in science represents the most robust model available to explain all the relevant facts. And the word faith, which, when it suits them, they'll equate with confidence or trust, rather than the religious meaning, a belief without evidence or in spite of contrary evidence. They use generic-sounding words, which they absolutely refuse to properly define, such as kinds or information. They claim to know what no one can know and witness to things they've never seen. Let's dissect one of their favorite shticks. A painting requires a painter. Well, if by painting you mean a picture or design executed in paints, the act, art, or work of a person who paints, or the works of art painted in a particular manner, place, or period, the painter is built right into the definition of the word painting. But if what you mean by painting is simply an instance of covering a surface with paint, then no, it does not require a painter. A gust of wind will do the trick. No intention or intelligent agency is required. A building requires a builder. Well, again, we're faced with wordplay. The statement is basically saying a structure which is built requires to have been built. It's a meaningless tautology. But of course, the painting painter and building builder lines are just the setup for their big finale. Creation requires a creator. This one is just the worst. I mean, the definitions of the lead-ups might possibly be interpreted as merely inferring a requirement of intelligent agency, but this one is blatant. The dictionary definitions of the word creation spoon-feed the apologist their preferred conclusion, and they know it. If apologists were honest, they'd avoid incorporating their conclusions into their premises, but it seems clear to me that this tactic is actually the whole point. My final example comes from the subject of morality. We often hear the argument that there must exist an objective morality, or else it's just your opinions and preferences versus someone else's. Now that assertion is a steaming load, but it's too large to scoop up in my remaining time. The reason I mention it, though, is because this topic is prime real estate for more of their word games. But at this point, let's stop playing their game. Following their objective morality assertion, they'll often ask a question like, is murder wrong? No. Murder is a word. The important part is what we mean by that word. And it just so happens that the word murder is used to describe an action which we have deemed to be wrong. The definition of the word already has a moral judgment built right in. You may as well ask, is wrong wrong? So remember, words in and of themselves have no intrinsic meaning. They're a collection of sounds we use to convey meaning. And many words can convey multiple and often very different meanings depending on the context. The important part of any honest conversation is the meaning, not the sounds we call words. So don't let yourself get buried in an avalanche of word salad. Be on your guard for these linguistic tricks, and when necessary, interrupt a conversation of this sort and make them define their terms. But if you think that using tricks of language to confuse an audience or pander to your own lowest common denominator actually wins an argument,
error.